Test. Testing mic.
Sounds good. This is Troy.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is Troy Dunning. I will be taking it out of practice mode momentarily. Are you ready?
Yes, we are.
Okay. The practice session has ended and recording has begun.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Tuesday, July 14th, 2020 Board of County Commissioners Business Meeting. Would you all please stand and join us in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Mr. Ingalls, we have certification of our agenda today.
We do, Mr. Chair. My office has reviewed all items on today's agenda, and they all meet legal approval. Just for logistics, there have been a number of emails submitted to the board, and folks have asked that they be part of today's record. Those have all been provided to Ms. Randlett, and they'll all, as a group, be labeled Exhibit 1. You've also been handed Exhibit 2. It's a similar document that was hand-delivered to the County Commissioner's office upstairs, and anything else that comes in, we'll just take it as it comes.
Thank you, sir. Do any of the commissioners have any disclosures for any item on our agenda today?
I have none, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
And I have none. This time, we're going to provide a time for some employee recognition, and I would like to call Tiny Zappi to the lectern to recognize Leslie Curran.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Tiny Zappi. I work in the Clerk and Recorder Department for the Motor Vehicle Division. And introduce yourself.
I'm Leslie Curran. I'm the motor vehicle trainer for Douglas County.
And we're here, as you know, to recognize Leslie for 20 years of service to Douglas County. So I wrote a little note. Leslie has been with Douglas County now for a little over 20 years, all of which have been with motor vehicle and clerk and recorder. She has worked in many different roles within our division and has worked for a number of different supervisors. It is both an honor and a privilege to be her supervisor today and to be the one that gets to recognize Leslie for her 20 years of service. Although Leslie has worked in almost every possible role within motor vehicle, she's truly found her niche as our new hire trainer. As of today, almost our entire staff has been trained by Leslie Curran. Leslie's warm, open, and friendly personality demonstrate to our new hires what our culture is all about. She makes all of our employees, both new and tenured, feel welcome and appreciated. Leslie's dedication and service are not limited to her work in Douglas County. Leslie is one of the most caring, giving, selfless people I've ever known. And anyone who has met her or worked with her will tell you that their lives are further blessed just by knowing her. Thank you, Leslie, for your 20 years of service to Douglas County and to motor vehicle. And thank you, Commissioners, for allowing us the opportunity to recognize Leslie today.
Thank you. Is it okay if I say something? Is it okay?
Go ahead.
Yes, please do, Leslie. If you weren't,
Thank you.
If you wouldn't provide anything, I would ask you anyway.
Okay, thank you. I brought a picture of my mom. She's the reason that I got a job with Douglas County. The job I was in was very physical, and it was when DC Net was on. She saw a posting, went to Castle Rock, got an application, brought it to me at work, made me fill it out, and then hand carried it back, and just insisted that I do this. And when I got the call, I was so excited. And I thanked her over and over again for doing that for me, to get me where I am today. It was all for her. And we just lost her last month. So she's here, she's with us, she's with me, she's watching, she knows, and she's proud. So I just want to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to work for Douglas County. It is by far the best job I've ever had.
Leslie, thank you very much. And I know there's commissioner comments if you hang with us for a bit.
Yep.
Leslie, I would like to thank you for the service. Most people in Douglas County have had some kind of dealings with the motor vehicle department. And to know that you've trained the staff, you have had a huge impact on this county. And I know that during this COVID situation that you did have personal loss, and we're very sorry for that, and we appreciate the nice card you wrote the commissioners thanking us. So know that your efforts did go noticed by us and by probably everybody in the room. So thank you for what you've done for the citizens.
Thank you.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you to Tiny. Thank you, Leslie, for the 20 years of service. Certainly thank you to Merlin Klotz for his leadership. No doubt the Department of Motor Vehicles has had so much innovation and change in terms of technology. And you consistently are a family. You treat each other so well. And you've created a culture that inspires goodness around you. So I know I've enjoyed my visits down there, and I really appreciate your work. I'm very sorry for your loss, but no doubt your mom is very proud of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Leslie, there is no doubt that almost everybody deals with Motor V through every year. And if you think about our former Commissioner Dave Weaver, now U.S. Marshal, he had to visit you numerous times because he's kind of a car buff, and I would always enjoy hearing his stories.
He owes me a Douglas County Sheriff car.
Okay, we'll get that to you, right? We'll get that on him right away. But it's obvious through just what you display even now, just to bring that picture of your mother and show, to give her the credit. And really, thank you to your mother for all that. But it's obvious when we hear from numerous people, you see, I was so surprised. I went to Motor V, and either it didn't have a wait, or when I did wait, when I got there, the clerk was so pleasant. That is obvious. That is because of you. And so we've all learned a lot from you, and we just hope there's many more years to come. You do a great job, Tiny. Thank you for your wonderful words. You've probably served under, if I'm just counting right, probably 3 different clerk and recorders.
Yep.
And we've been blessed to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank everyone for allowing us to do that. You can see the special, as we consider the employees very special. And before we move to our next item, what I'd like to do is to have each commissioner address a few of the issues that have been in our office of the county commissioners here the last couple of days. As you know, last week we made a couple decisions through motions that certainly have been out in the public eye, but as we all know, there's been a lot we're aware of in the last 3, 4, 5 months that we weren't aware of before. So those 2 decisions, one was to opt out of the mandatory mask order that was presented by the Tri-County Board of Health, and the other was the commissioner's decision to notify Tri-County of our decision to vacate the relationship with Tri-County as early as, or it could be as earlier, but as late as July 11th, 2021. So we've had many questions, many comments, and we're going to take it's board prerogative to allow commissioners to provide some explanation, provide some answers, and provide some understanding to all those, because we know it's a complicated process all the way around in anything we're dealing with today. So Commissioner Thomas.
Thank you, Commissioner Partridge. We'd like to thank all the citizens who are here today in person, the ones who are listening online, and the ones who have reached out to us since Wednesday through either phone calls, emails, or through Citizen Connect. It's important to know that we are listening to you and we have heard your voices. I think what we've heard most of all is that you feel like we have abandoned you, that we have left you without a health department, and that you're very concerned about what this is going to cost. First of all, we gave Tri-County Health a letter with an intent to withdraw from their services within the next year. So for the next year, Tri-County Health will still be our public health department. We had a phone call with Dr. Douglas today. He is going to be joining us on the town hall tomorrow night. So you are still going to be receiving the same services today that you were receiving a week ago, and a month ago, and 50 years ago from Tri-County Health. So nothing has changed with that decision. We have successfully obtained 13 different variances from Tri-County Health and the State Health Department to successfully open up more and more parts of our county and our economy. And we've done that because of the excellent working relationship we have at the staff with Tri-County Health. Troy, if you could put up the first slide, please, from July 8th. So a week ago tomorrow, Dr. Douglas had a Board of Health meeting with his Board of Health. The Board of Health consisted of 3 members from Arapahoe County, 3 from Adams County, and 3 from Douglas County. These are citizens who are appointed by their commissioners to represent the citizens of each county at the board meeting. So on July 8th of 2020, Dr. Douglas had the special board meeting, and the topic were options to enhance the use of face coverings. Now, before this board meeting, Dr. Douglas had met with the Douglas County Commissioners and had told us that we already had 75% compliance with voluntary mask uses in businesses that had been surveyed by his staff. He also pointed out our very low numbers. We had had 6 hospitalizations and 3 deaths in the month of June. The COVID case numbers had remained very low in Douglas County since the very beginning. And Dr. Douglas had told us that he was not recommending mandatory masks to be put in place in Douglas County. A couple of us, the commissioners, Commissioner Layton and I, listened into that meeting. Commissioner Partridge was on another call with another organization. But Troy, if you could go to the second slide, please. At that meeting, Dr. Douglas put up this slide that showed he was recommending a mandated mask order for Adams and Aurora. Arapahoe County might have either an opt-in or an opt-out, depending on the jurisdictions. But Douglas County was recommended the ability to opt in by interested jurisdictions. We had learned that the usage of masks at the time in Adams County was about 58%, Arapahoe County was about 87%, and Douglas again was about 75%. What we have also heard that was in the background in our minds is that Governor Polis has repeatedly said, as we move further through the pandemic, he is looking to push decision-making from the state health department to local health departments. That's why we all, the 3 commissioners, knew having a health department that was working in lockstep with us was so important. At this meeting, there was a motion made to mask up all 3 counties. And that certainly was a surprise because Dr. Douglas had told us he was not recommending masks for Douglas County. The vote ended up being 5-4 from those 9 unelected appointees to require masks for all 3 counties. Now, I would just like to talk about what that meant to the 3 commissioners when we saw how that Board of Health voted. What it told us was that the unelected board members were signaling to us in Douglas County that they were willing to use their power to mandate policies to Douglas County citizens that weren't necessary. So the reason that this Board of Douglas County Commissioners voted to serve notice of our intent to withdraw from Tri-County Health within the next year is that we cannot allow the critical decisions that affect the liberties, freedoms, and livelihoods of Douglas County citizens to be left in the hands of unelected appointees. Appointees who may not even be citizens or representatives of Douglas County. We made this extraordinary decision because we feel we have a responsibility to protect your freedoms. And this board signaled that they are not willing to do that into the future. What other decisions could they make that impact us that are not recognized or recommended by the experts in the room? We have a year to work through this decision. We are hoping that we can come to a good solution with Tri-County, but I assure you that for 50 years, Tri-County has provided public health services for you because commissioners long before us recognized that basic human need in our society. And none of us have any intent or desire to do anything other than to leave you with the great public health services that you receive today. So I just ask that you provide grace and listen and work with us to make sure that we find a good solution for all of us going forward so that our liberties are protected as well. Thank you for your time and for listening.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Commissioner Layden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Commissioner Thomas, for those comments and for the leadership of this board. I really want to echo those sentiments and thank everyone for being here today, because one of our highest values is listening to our citizens, responding to our citizens, and having the opportunity to engage with them. So it is a high value for all of us to have you here today, or calling in, or certainly viewing it through the new media. Listen, I am not against wearing a mask. I have a mask. I wear one. My family wears one. I urge all citizens to wear one. But the big difference from my vantage point is a strong recommendation based on science, which I urge, and a mandate which could subject our citizens to fines or criminalize them. I don't want to see our citizens subject to a $999 fine if they're caught without a mask, especially when, as of today, Tri-County Health indicated to us that 90%, or I'm not sorry, 90, but 80% of our citizens are currently wearing masks voluntarily, 80%. That's a pretty high number, and certainly based upon the current data that we see on a daily basis, and we've been aggregating and reviewing that every day with experts for the last 4 months, our numbers are so phenomenally low, and that's really due to the good work of our citizens and the hard work of the leadership that we've seen out there, so we really appreciate that. You know, our decisions are going to remain with the data and the science. And I would echo the sentiments of Commissioner Thomas that our own Tri-County Executive Director indicated to us that a mandate for masks in Douglas County was not necessary. So the fact that an out-of-county appointee from Adams County made a decision for all of you in this room is really inconsistent with our values in Douglas County. And I think it underscores why Tri-County is no longer a good fit for our citizens. We have not abandoned Tri-County. Nothing has changed. Right now, we've just provided the 1-year statutory notice that we are intending to make a transition here. But I want to make it clear that we first joined Tri-County Health in 1965 after the Platte River flood. At that time, we had 4,800 people in Douglas County, so kind of a small place. We now have 370,000. So we're really in a moment in time in 2020 where we're simply too big to be small. As we've seen with our judicial district, and I really applaud the leadership of Commissioner Thomas and Commissioner Partridge and fellow leaders in the county in terms of transitioning us from a larger judicial district, JD18, to a JD23. And that process will be occurring over time. But this is consistent with a theme we're seeing in Douglas County, that based upon our size and our demographics, we really have to take the bull by the horns and make sure that we're reflecting the will of our citizens based on our size. So again, nothing has changed with Tri-County right now. Everyone will still receive all of the same services that they currently are receiving. But certainly we're exploring all sorts of considerations, including the cost. And if I know Douglas County, like I know Douglas County has been in the past, an exploration as to the most cost-effective measures will absolutely continue to be the case. So we don't know what that looks like today, but I do believe that there's an opportunity to save money by not duplicating services. And we certainly have seen that in the past, where we've been asked to pay for services that Tri-County is already providing. So by eliminating that duplication, I think there will be a wonderful opportunity to save some money. So again, I really want to thank everyone for being here today. I'm looking forward to hearing your comments. We are hosting our 17th live town hall for all of our citizens tomorrow at 4:30, and we're looking forward to the opportunity to hear more from you and hear your comments. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Layden. So I think what you heard, I'm going to summarize a little bit also, but to first look at it, it's been a real honor to serve with Commissioner Thomas, Commissioner Layden, have the opportunity to serve with 3 other commissioners through my tenure. And with that, we are put in a position to make decisions even daily that affect all of your lives. Sometimes I hear people ask, what does a commissioner do? And I comment back, well, hopefully we're providing the services that you request and desire and need if you have to ask what we do. Because if we're not doing the right thing, we will hear it. And many times when we do the right thing, we do hear that. I think that's where we're at today. I firmly believe the decisions we've made, and with this board and all boards, have been right. So we're put in that position, and it's not an easy decision, anything we do. It's met with much information that we receive from public, we receive from staff, we receive from experts, and it's never a knee-jerk reaction. We just don't do that because we know that's not what you desire. You desire good governance, and that is our goal every day, to provide you with the best governance and the best services possible. So, that's just kind of an overview of what position we're in every day, and we're very thankful. And when you look at councils, mayors, and commissioners, we are in a different position than legislators, governors, whether they're state or whether they're federal. They deal with legislation and deal with executive. We're in a position to deal with all three branches of the of governance, and that comes with a lot of responsibility, and we never take that lightly. So what you heard today is to say how do we base some of our decisions regarding the mandated mask order. I believe, too, the mandate was overreaching. I am certainly agree with Commissioner Layden, too, on the wearing a mask. I often wear a mask, especially when I'm around those who I am not unsure of, and encourage anyone who has that desire to wear a mask, wear that mask, not be critical of anyone who doesn't, unless that person is coughing and sneezing and appears sick. I feel that we all should take that self-responsibility to be aware of who we're around if we are making an impact. Certainly we know, wash your hands, keep your distance, and just be sensible in everything that we are aware of with this COVID. When we look at masks, unfortunately, the science background that I come from, you like to look at pure empirical science. We do not have that with masks. We've heard it in both sides, both spectrums. But I would just say that if I am carrying anything, I believe my mask can help protect. And if anybody is carrying anything, I believe can help protect me. But I believe that is your choice as an individual to make that decision however you see fit. Regarding our decision to pursue a public health services provided by Douglas County, that has been something that's been culminating over the years, even as far back as 2004. And there's a slide. Can we put up the next slide? We have a slide that shows, this is from the Association of Public Health Agencies. And this is a map of the state. The gray you see is all the counties that provide individual health departments. The orange you see are counties that are involved in a district. So as you can see, I know it's been said, we are at the size of roughly 370,000 people. It is a time, and I believe, for us to look at providing public health services that fit the best needs that our citizens are asking for and what we believe provides the best public health services for our county. Thank you for the slide. We know we check data daily, so we know that we've seen some increases, but you really have to match those data up together. When we look at the number of tests, we look at the number of positive tests. When we look at the number of positive tests, we look at what's the severity, and we look at then hospitalization. And when you look at Douglas County, the total that have been hospitalized in Douglas County since the onset of COVID, when we were taking statistics, is about 0.1%. That gives you an idea of severity. Now, we're not foolish to the idea that this is a very serious pandemic. We've been fortunate in Douglas County in many ways, and that is a credit to you that we have not seen the seriousness of COVID. We don't take any statistic lightly, but you really have to match statistics up instead of just leaning on one. And realistically, that's what we do and what we rely on Tri-County Health to provide us with that information analysis also. And I know Commissioner Thomas mentioned, and I believe Commissioner Layden did too, that we are not without public health services. I think that was a big concern we are hearing from our decision last Thursday. We still have that great relationship with Dr. Douglas and all of his staff. We have a direct relationship and also indirect relationship with Governor Polis and with Jill Hunsaker-Ryan, the director of the state CDPHE. So we are in direct contact with individuals multiple times in a day because we know this serious pandemic that we are in is not something that's going to go away easy. But I want you to know that we are certainly aware, and we want your fears not to be, your concerns not to be fears, but to be concerns that there are those as us doing everything we can to protect you and help you. So with that, Commissioner Thomas, Commissioner Layden, do you have any further comments?
I don't have any. I would like to hear from our citizens.
As would I. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. We say thank you for all of those who have reached out. And again, Commissioner Layden mentioned our telephone town hall tomorrow at 4:30. So we will probably go into more discussion and explanation. And we certainly are receiving emails, reading those, and being very well. Thank you for reaching out to us. This time we'll move on to item number 2 on our agenda. That is citizen comments and organizational comments. So at this time, anyone who would like to address the board, either here physically or on the phone, we will certainly accept your comments. And we ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes or less because we want to hear from everybody as much as we can. We do have a schedule of another hearing at 2:30, but we certainly want to be able to hear from all. And if there is an item that is on our regular or our consent agenda, if you would wait until we are hearing those items, item number, that will be number 3 and number 4 of our agenda. We ask that you wait till we come to those agenda items. But this time, if there's anyone who would like to address the board, please feel free to do so. And I will ask anyone who addresses the board to state your name, the spelling of your last name, and your address for the record, if you would, please. So, yes, sir. Please feel free to come forward. Yes. And state your name, spelling your last name, and address for the record. And usually the mic picks things up pretty good, so you don't necessarily have to get down to it, but stand right where you are would be great.
My name is Michael Eller, E-L-L-E-R. Was it 5077 Cavello Drive, ELO, in Castle Rock, Colorado. So, to the Douglas County Board of Commissioners, thank you for hearing from me today. I speak to you in regards to the July 9th announcement to opt out of Tri-County Health Department's TCHD's forthcoming mask mandate order, as well as written notice of intent to withdraw from TCHD. During a national emergency is not the time to opt out of safety measures that could save tens of thousands of Coloradan lives. To Commissioner Abe Layden, Dr. John Douglas of the Tri-County Health Department spoke to the following during TCHD's press release on July 10th. Prevention is the best tool we have when fighting COVID-19, and we have scientific evidence that masks can play an important role in slowing the spread of COVID-19, which can help in reopening and keeping our economies open. Keeping transmission rates from climbing is particularly important as our schools make plans to reopen as fully as possible next month. And from TCHD's public health order requiring facial coverings, as of July 9th, there are 11,665 known positive cases in Adams, Arapahoe, and Douglas counties, and 557 deaths in those counties. In addition, incidence rates, cases per 100,000, have been growing, and over the past 14 days have been high in all 3 counties. And I'll now read an open letter from the doctors, nurses, and the hospitals around America dated July 3rd. An open letter to the American public. Since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, we have urged the American people to protect themselves, their neighbors, and their loved ones amidst the worst global health crisis in generations. After months of physical distancing and staying at home, infections and deaths began to decline. But in weeks since states began reopening, some of the steps that were critical to the progress we made were too quickly abandoned. And we are now watching in real time as a dramatic uptick in COVID-19 cases is erasing our hard-won gains. Hospitals in some states are at or nearing their ICU capacities. Shortages of personal protective equipment and testing supplies are continuing to pose a dire threat to healthcare workers and patients alike. And last week, Dr. Anthony Fauci told Congress that the U.S. could see 100,000 new coronavirus cases each day if we do not take more precautions. That is why we as physicians, nurses, hospital and health system leaders, researchers, and public health experts, we are urging the American public to take the simple steps we know will help stop the spread of the virus: wearing a face mask, maintaining social distancing, and washing our hands. We are not powerless in this public health crisis, and we can defeat it in the same way we defeated previous threats to public health, by allowing science and evidence to shape our decisions and inform our actions. So those of you that are doing their part in helping turn the tide of the pandemic, thank you. Your actions are critical to stopping the spread of COVID-19. Moving forward, we must all remain vigilant and continue taking steps to mitigate the spread of the virus, to protect each other and our loved ones. There's only one way we will get through this: together. Your continued partners in health, the American Hospital Association, the American Medical Association, and the American Nurses Association.
Thank you, Mr. Eller. Anyone else in the room would like to address the board? Seeing no one, I would ask Kristen, are there any hands raised? Anyone you're aware of would like to address the board on the phone? Troy, I'm sorry, you're on the phone, you're running the phone. Troy, do you see any hands raised?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Commissioner Partridge. I'm going to unmute Safford, Black Safford.
Hello.
All right, sir, you are live. Go ahead.
Thank you. I do generally concur with Mr. Eller and thank him for
And
his
Mr. Safford, excuse me, would you mind stating your
I
name?
will stick to my name. Yeah. So my first name is Safford, last name is Black, like the color BLACK. At 7030 Mountain Brush Circle in Highlands Ranch.
Thank you, sir.
So I do concur with Mr. Eller and appreciate him taking the time out to attend today's meeting in person. I unfortunately was not able to, but I appreciate the opportunity to speak by phone. I was extremely disappointed to see the political stunt that our 3 Douglas County commissioners pulled by undoing the mask mandate, number 1, and number 2, by deciding to pull out of Tri-County Health Department, which I didn't even know had been in a relationship for as long as it had, so it's even more striking. Science and politics do not mix, and that's really important for us all to understand. Douglas County is a part of the larger Denver region. We are not an island. People come and go from Douglas County from all over the metro area, and if we do not improve our rate of mask wearing, then we will see our numbers begin to tick up. And I should say that right now our numbers are lower than that of our neighbors, especially those of the other 2 counties that are in Tri-County Health. And that's terrific. And we should commend ourselves for keeping our numbers so low and keeping our mask wearing rate high. That is something to be proud of. But if we don't take reasonable precautions and continue to follow the science here, that could very easily turn in the other direction. The commissioners today stated that Douglas County has a mask wearing rate of around 80% and that we do not need a mandate to improve that number. What if 80% of our citizens decided not to drink and drive? Is that a good enough number? What should we do about that other 20%? Is that them just exercising their freedom? Now that may be in a bit of an extreme example, right? But let's think about that. Here's, seatbelt wearing, all these other things where it's not just about you, it's about your neighbors. You gotta kind of keep that in mind. I do not want to turn Douglas County into the next hotspot like we're seeing with counties in Texas, Florida, and Arizona and other places that are not following the science. We need solutions to our health and economic crises right now, and this is nothing short of political grandstanding by our commissioners. It is a waste of your time, and it will ultimately be a waste of our tax dollars. It sounds like, based on the commissioner's comments today, that you have dug in your heels. This is frightening and disappointing. Health departments are not elected officials for a reason. They should be nonpartisan, and they should follow the science. So the argument that our commissioners are making that some unelected officials are ramming something down our throats, I hear that argument, but I don't agree with it because these commissioners are supposed to be following the science and really looking at the statistics. Our commissioners are elected officials and can kind of follow these political whims, and I think that's very frightening and disappointing. So
15
I want to say
seconds,
that I'm
Mr.
very
Black.
ashamed of our commissioners.
Ms. Black, 15 seconds. Thank you, sir. And Troy, do we have anyone else with the raised hand?
Yes, sir. I am going to move on to Zach Sloan. One moment. Zach, you are unmuted. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you all very much. And I certainly appreciate the opportunity to participate virtually, as I would feel uncomfortable being in a room with everybody. So thank you for providing this opportunity. I know not all jurisdictions do so.
Mr. Stone, could you state your full name,
absolutely.
spelling your last name, and address for the record, please?
Of course. Zach Sloan, and that's Sloan, and I am at 432 Hampstead Avenue in Castle Rock.
Proceed, sir.
Thank you. I think part of the issue that has made itself readily apparent since reading about the decision to leave Tri-County Health and today, and I certainly appreciate the comments from the commissioners as being helpful, it occurs to me that the fear, the abandonment that many of my fellow Douglas Countyans, if you will, are feeling is the fact that a statement was made that we would not be following this recommendation. Yet no alternative means of ensuring our safety were at all presented. We were told the mask mandate wasn't for us, even though the vast majority of empirical science does show that masks are helpful and prevent the spread of coronavirus. We're told we will not be participating, but we are not being told what is actually being done for us to help keep us safe. If the data shows that 0.1% have been hospitalized, I tend to agree with Mr. Black. And well, what are we doing for that minority of people who do need help? What do we do for the people who are impacted? If we are only showing that small of a hospitalization percentage, what is the likelihood that will go up if masks are not required? Well, as data has shown us from across the country, it goes up. And I tend to disagree with the statistic that 75 to 80% of people in Castle Rock or in Douglas County are wearing their masks at all times, or in all times in public. As I've been out to King Soopers, to various businesses to get groceries and things like that, I see about half of those I see a lot of people not wearing them properly. Is Douglas County going to be educating people on how to wear their masks? Because right now what we're being told is that the mandate, the policy will not be followed, but we're not being told what will be done. And I think that would be the biggest thing to help me feel better if I knew what active steps we were taking and why we simply appear to be being reactive in this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stone. Joy, anyone else with a raised hand?
Yes, sir, Commissioner Partridge. We do have 70 attendees attending virtually, and I have 4 more in the queue at this time. One moment, and we were going to move on to Donna Packard. And Donna, you are unmuted. Go ahead.
Thank you, Troy. My name is Donna Packard, spelled Packard. I've lived in Douglas County for 20 years, and I currently reside at 7010 Terweston Lane, Castle Pines. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. During this public health crisis, we need to act as a community in ways that promote the health and general welfare of our society. We need to work together to bring the COVID-19 infection rates down to a manageable level, not only for healthcare workers and infrastructure, but to allow schools to open safely and employment to return to near pre-pandemic levels. It has been conclusively shown that masks are effective in preventing transmission of the novel coronavirus. A Douglas County mask mandate will lower infection rates. One survey conducted by a worldwide team of scientists and engineers published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Science states, and I quote, "Available evidence suggests that near universal adoption of non-medical masks when out in public, in combination with complementary public health measures, could successfully reduce the coronavirus reproduction number to below 1, thereby stopping community spread. Economic analysis suggests that the impact of mask wearing could be thousands of US dollars saved per person per mask," end quote. This recommendation is supported by many other institutions such as Stanford Medicine, the Mayo Clinic, and Johns Hopkins Medicine. Finally, a study of states with mask mandates conducted by Health Affairs, the leading journal of health policy thought and research, concluded, and I quote, "States in the U.S. mandating use of face masks in public had a greater decline in daily COVID-19 growth rates after issuing these mandates compared to states that did not issue mandates," end quote. Mandating masks be worn indoors in public spaces is analogous to mandating a speed limit on the highway. We know that excessive speed contributes to an increase in auto accidents and their severity. Merely recommending that people obey a speed limit simply does not result in the same number of people driving at a speed consistent with safety for themselves and others, as does a mandated speed limit. The study published in the National Academy of Sciences that I previously cited also indicated that mandates, not merely recommendations, have indeed resulted in an increased wearing of masks. I acknowledge that mandating face masks will be worn in public indoor spaces raises the question of enforcement, and some may feel that it encroaches on their personal freedoms. But the benefits to our community vastly outweigh those concerns. Science tells us that masks prevent the spread of coronavirus. Wearing a mask is simple and does not represent a violation of anyone's civil rights any more than speed limit or seatbelt laws.
15
I
seconds.
request the Douglas County
Packard.
Commissioners mandate masks based on principles of science, not only because it will make our community a healthier and safe place to live and work, but because it demonstrates leadership that serves all the people of Douglas County.
Thank you, Ms. Packard. Joy, next.
Thank you, Commissioner. I am unmuting Patrick Lee. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. My name is Patrick. I live at 18907 East. I just had a comment.
Mr.
This was a knee-jerk reaction to the mask ruling.
Mr. Lee, could you spell your last name, please?
Lee.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. This was undoubtedly a knee-jerk reaction to the Tri-County ruling on the mask. And my point is 80%, 8 out of 10 people wear a mask, which I'm not sure where that comes from. But if that is true, 80% of the people are telling you they want others to wear their masks. So that you're siding with the 20%. And I heard two reasons. One was not the liberty, but the 20%. And the other was a potential fine, which I think we all know is not going to happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Joy, next.
Thank you, Commissioner Partridge. Next on the queue will be Sarah Binder. Go ahead, Sarah. Sarah, try again. Go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Great. Thank you for this time, Commissioners. My name is Sarah Bender, and I'm at Bender, spelled Binder, and I'm at 423 Castle Pines Drive South in Castle Rock. I will be aware of your time today, as my comments have been expressed by all that have followed me. I do not agree with the decision to not mandate wearing masks. Having this mandate sends a strong message that Douglas County trusts the advice of our health experts. Coloradans will also be able to see our legislators proudly wearing face mask coverings to show that they care about the health of our fellow residents. I'm 23 years old. I wear a mask, and I stay home unless absolutely necessary. I am not the norm. I want to ensure that the safety of my parents, who are residents in Douglas County as well, and are in an at-risk group from their age. I know that they are at risk because wearing masks and staying home is not being done by all citizens in Douglas County. Please ensure their safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bender. Joy, next.
Thank you, Commissioner Partridge. We're going to move on to Mark Dawson. Mark, you are unmuted. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. Yes, my name is Mark Dawson. That's spelled D-A-W-S-O-N. I live at 3454 Casino Place in Highlands Ranch. I'm a new resident to Douglas County. I've moved from South Carolina about 2 years ago. And I would like to say that what I've heard on the county commissioners discuss today seems nothing but politicalization of a public health issue, and I'm greatly disheartened. Wearing masks save lives. It's not a I issue, but a we issue. By wearing a mask, you say, I care about you as a fellow citizen about your potential health so that I don't give whatever I may have to you. I'm also disheartened by the fact that the board has opted out of being in Tri-County Health without a defined solution, which can only lead to increased tax dollars. We're going to lose the economy of scale by being part of a tri-county approach towards health rather than trying to do it on our own. And then finally, it looks like there's going to be an increase in public health risk because like many of those who've spoken before me, I don't see where 80% of people are wearing a mask. My wife and I live in Highlands Ranch, and while we're out at grocery stores or walking around, we may be one of 20 people we see wearing masks. So your data, I just find it very suspect, and I don't think it's very accurate. And finally, as I said, I just see this as an increased tax obligation on behalf of the citizens of Douglas County when we try to shore our public health and the health department on our own tax dollars rather than the economy scale of being in a tri-county health system. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Dawson. Joy, next.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Partridge. I think I only have one more in the queue. This is going to be Glenn Harm. And let me find him here one moment with all these folks. All right, Glenn, you are unmuted. Go ahead, sir.
How about now?
Yes, we hear you.
Hello? Thank you. My name is Glenn Harm. That's Glenn with two N's, Harm, H-A-R-M. Live at 3144 White Oak Street in Highlands Ranch. I have two questions that I'd like to see if we could have at least some sort of comment on. The first is, who's responsible for Douglas County appointees that this board has been, that the commissioners have been disappointed with? And the second is, this mask mandate was specifically crafted to allow us to opt out. In my opinion, this shouldn't have been the straw that broke the camel's back and caused us to leave Tri-County Health. You've indicated that the formation of our health department has been discussed from time to time in recent years, and there is concern that we might have something rammed down our throats without regards for what's best for Douglas County. I find those considerations admirable, but why would you announce this pullout of Tri-County Health without full financial analysis available of what creating our own health department means? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harm. Joy, do you have any other hands raised?
Sir, I see no other hands raised. We can move forward.
Very well. And no other one in the room? Very well. We will. Actually, I'm going to make one comment because I heard a question raised, and I know Commissioner Layden mentioned the statistic, which comes from Tri-County Health. They actually have volunteers that they have sit in parking lots to gather the statistic in Douglas County of the percent use of mask. That is where that statistic comes from, directly from the Tri-County Health Department. Commissioner Thomas, Commissioner Layden, any comments?
Yes, I have a couple. I think first and foremost, thank you to all the citizens that took the time to call or to be here in person. I think your time is incredibly valuable, and we are listening. We have listened all day, every day since the day this began. And our decisions have been driven on science. And many of the comments we heard today really asked us to rely on the data, rely on the science. I will have to repeat again that we relied on the expert, Dr. John Douglas, who very clearly told us that Douglas County should not be under a mask mandate. That's Dr. Douglas, that is not us. So we relied on that, but an Adams County appointee made the decision for all three counties. We don't think that's right. I will also reiterate that when we talk about data, it's coming from Tri-County Health. So again, to Commissioner Partridge's point, that 80% mask wearing data point comes from Tri-County Health. So again, it's led by science. I appreciate the comment and just want to assure citizens that we really are on a daily basis aggregating that scientific data with the experts in close partnership. Another comment was made with regard to full financial pullout of Tri-County Health, and nothing could be farther from the truth. No change has been made. We have 1 year to continue to explore what this is going to look like, but as of today, it's status quo. We have the exact same relationship with Tri-County today that we did last week. So nothing has changed, but certainly a lot going into the exploration. And finally, I want to touch on the comment that we've heard that this is political. I can assure you with everything in my body that no decision that I have made or this board has made has been political on any level. I'm not up for re-election. Certainly was not a political decision on my part, but Commissioner Thomas is up for re-election. And what I will say is it would have been very easy for her to pander to other individuals that wanted her to do something different, including a mandate for masks. She made a decision based on principle, and I have a lot of respect for that. And again, it's because we don't want to jail or fine our citizens. We know our citizens are going to comply and continue to be the healthiest county in the entire country on their own freedoms and on their own volition. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Eden.
And this is Commissioner Thomas. I have one comment. I listened to everybody, and there was one question that was asked by Mr. Harm that has a direct answer. Mr. Harm asked, how are the Board of Health members appointed? Who appoints them? And the county commissioners appoint the 3 representatives on that board. And we have met with that board, and the commissioners, I know I reached out to the 3 board members the night before the Board of Health meeting, and I emailed them our explanation, our contacts with Dr. Douglas, and how we wanted them to vote to represent the citizens of Douglas County at that meeting. And 2 of them did as they had been requested by the commissioners to vote no. 1 of them did vote yes. So, Glenn, that's the answer to your question. They are appointed by the commissioners for 5-year terms. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. And Troy, do I understand? We actually have a short agenda, so I'm going to if it's all right, the other commissioners too. I think we have one more on the line.
Yes, sir. Brian Clark raised his hand as we were doing the final look through, so I'm going to go ahead and unmute him. Thank you.
Thank you, Troy.
Go ahead, Brian.
So much for taking the extra time for me. My name is Brian Clark. I live at 2271 Briar Grove Drive in Highlands Ranch. I have a very quick statement I would like to read.
And
I do not support...
Mr. Clark, the spelling of your last name, I'm sorry, just so we're accurate.
No problem. Clarke.
Thank you, sir.
Sure. I do not support Douglas County Commissioners' clearly partisan political decision to sever ties with the Tri-County Health Department after a 55-year partnership over an impending mask mandate that Douglas County is already taking steps to opt out of anyway. The Douglas County Commissioners already have a mechanism, as was just explained, to influence the health board through control of the appointments to that board. I do not support the slippery slope arguments about personal freedom infringements that I've heard repeated by the county commissioners. And a mask mandate is not about punishing citizens. It is about setting a community standard, about making clear what our priorities are as a community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Any further hands, Troy?
Yes, sir. I do have an Elizabeth Hemp raising her hand. One moment, please.
Very well. And I'm going to just, because I know our agenda is tight, I'll ask for this be our last public comment, unless there are any other hands raised right now.
I'm trying to mute that sound. Bear with me for a second. My apologies for the noise. I am now looking for Elizabeth. One moment. Elizabeth, you have been unmuted. Go ahead.
Hi, thank you. I appreciate your time. My name is Elizabeth Hemphill. It's Hemphill. My address is 2174 Trenton Street in Denver. I am speaking on behalf of my parents, Todd and Elizabeth Elston, ELSTON, who live at 8884 Thunderbird Road, Parker, Colorado, 80134. I agree with everyone before me. I urge you guys to reconsider how this infringes on personal rights and does not step into the personal rights of people who want to go out in public and feel safe. The mask mandate only work if everyone has bought in and are wearing them. 80% is not enough. The current infection rate of coronavirus and hospitalization rate of coronavirus in the state of Colorado is about 100 per 100,000 people. So that's 300 people in the Douglas County area that are at risk. And as far as I know, between Parker Adventist Hospital and Skyridge Hospital, we only have about 300 beds available. That means that anyone else who needs a hospitalization during this time is out of luck. You guys truly need to reconsider the safety of your citizens. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Tipton. And Troy, no other hands?
That is correct, Commissioner. Thank you.
Very well. All right, we'll now move on. Again, thank you, everyone, for your comments and for attending, either present physically or by phone. This is item number 3, our consent agenda. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board regarding any item on our consent agenda? Troy, any hands raised?
I see no hands raised, Commissioner.
And I see no one in the room. At this time, bring it to the board for discussion on the items on the consent agenda and/or a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the requests on all items A through AA of the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. No further discussion. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes. Moves us to item number 4 on our regular agenda. This is a resolution approving the Douglas County Cultural Council's recommendation for Scientific and Cultural Facilities District Tier 3 funding for 2020 to 2021. Presenting for staff, Community Resource Coordinator Kim Smith. Kim is working on pulling up her presentation.
Okay, whoops. Hello? Is it not? Good afternoon, Commissioners. Kim Smith, representing Community and Resource Services. The request before you today is to approve the resolution adopting the Douglas County Cultural Council's recommendation for Scientific and Cultural Facilities District, or SCFD, Tier 3 funding for 2020-2021. Voters approved a 0.1% sales and use tax for cultural facilities throughout the 7-county Denver metro area in 1988 and again in 2016. The 0.1% sales and use tax equates to 1 penny for every $10 spent. Funds collected are distributed to each of the 7 participating counties, including Adams, Arapahoe, Boulder, Broomfield, Denver, Douglas, and Jefferson counties. Each of the 7 counties has a cultural council responsible for recommending allocations for its county's annual portion of sales and use tax to Tier 3 organizations. Tier 3 recipients are the smaller organizations that provide more personal cultural experiences in our communities. The Cultural Council reviewed applications from 58 different organizations. All interviews were canceled due to COVID-19, but council members provided staff with their questions for organizations, which were provided on May 1st and 4th. Organizations had through May 15th to respond to their questions. The council ensures that proposals meet SCFD's requirements. As stated in the statute, the primary purpose of SCFD funds is to enlighten and entertain the public through the production, presentation, exhibition, advancement, or preservation of visual arts, performing arts, cultural history, natural history, or natural sciences, including earth, life, or physical sciences. All funds distributed benefit Douglas County residents through events and performances within the county or through events and performances that Douglas County residents can attend outside of the county. Douglas County's portion of sales and use tax for 2020 was $767,696.81. This was combined with $11,000 returned from last year's allocation for a total of $778,696.81. SCFD reduced their budget by 30% due to COVID-19 projections, so this amount is less than the amount distributed last year. Applicants requested a total amount of $1,074,168.40. Generally, the amount of funding requested exceeds the amount available to allocate to organizations, resulting in difficult decisions for the council members. The Douglas County Cultural Council recommends to the Board of County Commissioners awarding 12 general operating support grants and 54 project grants. Awarded funds will be used toward a wide range of arts and cultural opportunities to serve the diverse interests of the community. This concludes my presentation. Thank you for your time. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have, and our SCFD representative, Heather Porter, is also online and available as well.
Thank you, Kim. Any questions for staff at this time?
I have done. Thank you. The packet had a lot of the information in it I needed. Thank you.
And I have none. I just wanted to thank you, Kim, for the wonderful organization and the work of all of staff, as well as Heather. This is obviously a important and significant matter for Douglas County, advancing scientific and cultural endeavors. So thank you for pulling this together.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Wonderful job all the way around, as you always do. And I would ask Heather, would you like to make any comments?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, thanks. Just simply that it's really been such a pleasure to work with Kim and the Douglas County Cultural Council, and this year certainly was a more difficult year given our reduction in projected tax revenue. And I'd just like to thank the council for honestly doing a really incredible job, given that we had to pivot the entire system online almost overnight. So that's it for me. Thanks again.
Thank you, Heather. And on behalf of the county commissioners, to you and the whole Cultural Council committee, we really thank you for your dedication and time, because it's not a simple little process, and the new process you had to go through this year. So we really appreciate you and look forward to this fall when we actually look for check distribution.
Thank you.
At this time, I'll open it up for anyone in the audience, either on the phone or in the room, would like to address the board regarding the Cultural Council's recommendations. Troy, do we have any raised hands?
Commissioner Partridge, I am scanning through the call-in attendees, and there are no hands raised.
Thank you, Troy. And seeing no one in the room, we'll close public comment, bring it back to the board for any further discussion, comments, and/or motion.
Mr. Chair, I have a motion to approve a resolution approving the Douglas County Cultural Council's recommendation for scientific and cultural facilities District Tier 3 funding for 2020 and 2021.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. No further discussion. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes. Kim and Cultural Council, thank you so much for bringing it forward. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
That concludes our regular agenda item. And any further business? County Manager to board? No further business. County Manager report was included in our packet. Commissioner comments.
So Commissioner Partridge, if you can indulge me, I have two quick comments. Eons ago, we voted to partner with CDOT to fund Highway 85. And when I was going through this is the widening from Laviers to Sedalia. When I was going through the vouchers, I noticed that we paid CDOT $2.5 million on June 30th. So that tells me that we are getting close to getting Highway 85 widened. And this just goes to show that we have done other work besides COVID in the past. So I just wanted to remind people that we have funded roads, and we are going to have some transportation improvements on 85 between Sedalia and Laviers. And I want to do a quick shout out to our human services. So they employ someone called the Education Navigator who helps foster kids get through the educational system. And this year there were 8 foster students who graduated from high school and 1 with a GED. And 2 of those students are going on to college. Others are in trade apprenticeships. So this is such a huge, huge accomplishment for those kiddos who were in the foster care system who have successfully completed their education and the staff that helped guide them to get them there. So I just want to point out the great things that our staff have continued to do throughout this pandemic and that services are still being delivered for our citizens. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, no further comments. We will adjourn. It is now 2:36. We will reconvene. Let's 2:45 for our land use and public hearing. We are adjourned.